Hello guys and gals, animal friends and spirit pals. Welcome to my channel. Hope you guys are really having a great autumn season, fall season. It's really maybe my favorite. I love October. Hope you're having a great October. I love the harvest energy. I love Thanksgiving energy. And then when we move into the winter solstice, I love all that great, beautiful energy of giving and receiving, and that joyful energy that comes around Christmas. So these 3 months in a row are just favorites of mine. So excited. And then when I was, I also love Halloween. When you're gay, you kind of have to, otherwise they take away your gay card. But I've always loved Halloween. I love costumes and masks and makeup, and and I realize I'm more of an eye mask kind of guy, not really the mouth mask. I'm kind of over those at this point, but I still like a good old eye mask. And I love that whole Halloween party time of year, play and fun and all of that. But when I was thinking about the mask, it reminded me we haven't had an animal tale in quite a while. And what am I doing? It's time for another tale. And it also reminded me, this little mask, of really one of my most special and dearest animal friends that I had in my life for a good 20 years, and my little familiar and companion in the form of a raccoon. And so I wear this little mask here today in honor of her and her little masked bandits of raccoons. I really love raccoons. I've always loved raccoons. I think they're just really the cutest of things. And I've always kind of wanted one. And so today I wanted to tell you the story of how Roxy, or Roxbury the Raccoon, came into my life, and the magic and fun that ensued. I'm going to remove my mask so you know who it is. It's me, Mark, Spirit Whisperer. You didn't know who was talking to you, did you? Yeah, right. Okay. Once upon a time, long ago, I was really blonde and really thin. Oh, I was so skinny in those days. Oh, those were the days. And I'd been volunteering at the zoo for a while. I told you in another video that I had to go through quite a few steps to eventually become a paid full-time animal keeper at the zoo. And also, because it was a city job, you had to go through quite a few steps to become a civil servant, a city employee. So there were quite a bit of steps. But after I went through classes and field work and then passed all those classes and scored really high, the reward for that was, now you can volunteer at the zoo, which I was like, great. Ooh, I'm so excited. And I always felt like, well, even if I never get a job, every day that I get to work with some animal will be a blessing for me, and I'm so excited about it. And so I was, happy to have that opportunity. In my zoo class, there were about 150 people, and I was the only person from that group that ended up getting a job at the zoo. And there really wasn't a logical reason for me to get a job there, because my education, my degree was in drama and public speaking, and I did have a teacher's certification and stuff like that, but nothing really to do with animals or animal husbandry or anything like that. Had a really strong desire, had Pan on my side, who told me I was going to get a job at the zoo, and he said because of the animals, not really because of the people, but that it would happen. And of course it did. So when I got the opportunity to volunteer, I was really excited, and I started right away. So I would go every week and volunteer. One day a week, I would let them put me wherever they wanted, And then 2 days a week, I would go and volunteer at the animal show because I really liked that idea. Number one, I always wanted to be hands-on, interactive, you know, in kissing distance with the animals. Number two, I had a vested interest in education and teaching people to respect and love animals. And, you know, of course, my degree in drama and public speaking and all that. Just in that way, I felt like my education, you know, blended in with the animal care thing. So, and we did shows, and that was exciting for me. A show with an animal as my acting partner, so to speak, was perfect. And so I really wanted to get in there if I could. So I started volunteering there regularly. It was all women that worked there in that show facility there. Now, when I say show, the animals there that we used in that, it was really more of an educational presentation, but we had some showbiz in it. You know, we wanted it to be entertaining, and we also wanted you to go away appreciating the animals and loving them and wanting them here on the earth after you watched our show. And we only did positive reinforcement training, love and affection training. So there was no, you know, withholding food or anything weird like that, or any kind of punishment or anything. It was always positive reinforcement, giving them extra fun for doing the show. You know, we counterbalanced the show and doing behaviors on stage with a lot of fun time and downtime and walks and things like that. So I really liked that, and that really resonated with me. And, you know, and my whole thing with Pan too was creating positive relationships with man and animal in an effort to, you know, keep them here on the planet and help people understand that they're our brothers and sisters. So all that was perfect. And so I was really happy to volunteer there. After a while, didn't take me very long to get along with all the girls that were in the show. You know, actually, through my life, most of the time, my closest human friends are straight women. So that's who I tend to relate with most, like on a kind of an emotional, even mental level sometimes. Not that I've ever wanted to be a woman or I don't feel like a woman, but I relate to them the most, it seems. And so, you know, I got along really well with all the girls in the show. And they liked me there. Also, the animals liked me. That's always a big positive. And so it came to be that they figured out a way to hire me there part-time. Now, this is another way of where the universe kind of stepped in and did a little bit of magic. So some of the girls became aware that there was a wishing well fund where they had this big wishing well in the zoo, and people threw, you know, nickels and quarters and, you know, change in it and made a wish. And then they cleaned that out and put it in a jar. So they figured out they could pay me to work in the animal show part-time. So it was like 20 hours a week with, you know, wet, loose change from the wishing well fund. Now, you know, that that doesn't escape me that my actual first job at the zoo was from a wishing well, you know. And in the end, the city acted like that didn't count. I didn't get to count that as hours later on. But I worked as a wishing well boy in the animal show for a couple of years. You know, I was grateful too because I got paid and, you know, I had a uniform and I was an official employee even though I was poor, wishing well money. And so, you know, in that time, and of course they wanted me and they really pushed and helped create that for me, the girls in the show. There weren't any boys in the show except for me. And I was, you know, around 30, real early 30s, 32 maybe. And now I'd always loved raccoons and I always wanted one, and the girls were all aware of that, but we already had 3 raccoons that were in the show. Bonnie and Clyde were two, a brother and sister, and really cute. And they did very cute little behaviors. A lot of times we would have them go into aquarium, and there would be food in the bottom, and they would look up in the sky and then find it with their hands, and then they'd wash it and eat it, and it was very exciting for the public and things like that. And then we had a big giant raccoon, gigantic, named Mikey, who I loved, and he really liked me. His big thing was to run across the stage and leap on me with all of his weight, and like he charged me like a monster, but he was just being a little sweetie. Anyway, they knew I wanted a raccoon, but we couldn't really justify getting another raccoon for the show. But I still wanted one, and me being me, I went home and prayed to the universe and to and asked Pan to help and assist. But I asked the universe and source if it was okay with the universe, okay with the animal kingdom, okay with the raccoons. I would really like to have a raccoon as a pet, as long as it was, for everybody's highest good, and there's no harm to the raccoon or to me or anything like that. But if that was in alignment with everybody's path and the universe, then I would like that. Amen. Or, whatever's better. And then that week at the zoo, we got a call from Beverly Hills that there was a tiny baby raccoon orphaned by its mother in the attic of a big, ritzy Beverly Hills home on Roxbury Drive. And, instantly, I knew it was the universe answering my prayer with this little baby raccoon. Now, the girls knew how much I wanted one, so they went ahead and took it. The firemen had called the zoo to see, can you do something with this little baby raccoon? We don't know what to do with it, and we don't want to kill it. And so an orphan baby is the perfect thing to have in a show, because its mother's going to abandon it and it's going to die. And then if you're going to use something like a raccoon or any wild animal, you really want to raise it from a tiny baby so that it's not afraid of people and stuff like that. So they took it. They were pretty clear about telling me, well, Mark, the only reason we took this is because you never shut up about a raccoon. So we're going to bring it, but you're going to have to be the most responsible for it and take care of it. And I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I can't wait to get her. And she came, and she was just the cutest thing on the whole planet Earth. Little cute, teeny tiny baby. And so it was up to me to take her back and forth at home at night, and feed her and bottle feed her and take care of her. And then she came back and forth with me to work. So she'd come with me in the car. When she was little, I just brought her in my pocket or in my jacket, or she loved to ride on my shoulder most of the time. And here's a couple of very cute pictures of her when I first got her. I want to share with you. There's her little precious face when she first came. Could there ever be anything cuter? I don't think so. Oh, baby girl. And here she is. I don't know who that is with her. Boy, he looks skinny and no wrinkles. But that's my little baby. We named her Roxbury because that's where she was found, in Beverly Hills on Roxbury Drive. Oh my goodness, she's so cute. And she was very young. She just had her eyes open. And I was going to show you this one because this is my partner holding her, and our dog Sabrina going, hello, what's this? Because he always had to adjust to whatever I was going to bring home. You can't see, but sitting behind him is Oso, my wolf dog, I called her, him, animal spirit guide. You can just see a little bit of him over there on the corner here. And he and she later became great friends and good buddies. So that was her as a tiny, teeny baby. And of course, she became pretty attached to me because, we went back and forth, and she slept at my house, and then she came back to the zoo, and she was absolutely sure, I was her odd human daddy. And she loved me to pieces, and she always did everything I said, and she wanted to ride on me all the time. And the feeling was mutual. Now, sometimes the other keepers in the show would report to me, like when I wasn't there or something, as she got older and she didn't have to come back and forth home all the time. She could eat solid food and stuff. They say, boy, your little girl was a little bit of a brat. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, she was growling, huffing, sniffing, and wouldn't let me put her collar on her. And I'm like going, you're kidding, not my little precious angel. They go, yes, your little precious angel. And so then sometimes she would like be super precious to me, but then she would like, don't anybody else bother me. Like I'm Mark's little girl. And the rest of you can go jump in the lake. So that was a little bit of a thing. So so when we stopped going back and forth, she still came back and forth a little bit, but this was her starting to get big, getting a lot more secure, but still my shoulder and neck was where she stayed most all the time. She always rode on my shoulder, and that was her favorite thing. I mean, I can't hardly stand how cute she was as a baby. Now, this is where in the story an evil, evil villain comes in. Now, I don't usually have evil villains in my animal stories, but this one, and this guy was like Trumpy evil, like that kind of energy. So this guy suddenly, somehow, I guess because of his allegiance to the devil, became in charge of the zoo. And the first thing he wanted to do was close down the animal show because he didn't believe in them. That was his thing. I don't believe in shows. We're going, you don't believe in shows? Oh, okay. Any reason? No, he didn't have any reason. I just don't believe in shows. And he was a particularly creepy person. And, we were all extremely distraught because we had hand raised all these animals and he was going to just get rid of them. And, they were like our family. So, and there was a lot of animals, mountain lions, bobcats, caracals, servals, raccoons, possums, squirrels, owls, hawks, ravens, foxes, coyotes, quite a few animals that had been raised and trained and were hand-raised animals. And we just knew you just can't all of a sudden just toss them somewhere. They've grown up one way and it's just not, it's cruel to just dump them. And we were going crazy. And so I thought I would be reasonable, and I went to him and just tried to present to him how much good the show was doing in the community, how much education we were providing. And it was really one of the very few things that the zoo did for educational purposes, and that's was part of the zoo's mission statement, was to educate the community and provide entertainment and stuff. And that how much our shows had grown and how much we'd gotten so much positive feedback and and everything. And he just sat there and never said a word the whole time I was in his office with him by himself. Never made any kind of expression, anything. And he went, well, we're no longer doing that, and I'm thinking maybe the best thing for you would be just to go back home with your boyfriend and take care of him and forget about the zoo. Really? Mr. Evil Face, scumbag? Yuck! And throughout my 30 years at the zoo, I often had odd, gay bashing kind of things happen to me. And when I first started there, I was the only gay man that was there. And for a few years, I was the only one. At this point, more and more gay men have moved into that profession. And gay women, too. But that was just the lowest of the low, and so bullying and so anti, homophobic, and did it in a room where it was just me and him, so no one would hear it, and thought that that would be enough to make me quit, but of course it didn't. Um, and so I went back knowing, well, he's not gonna, we're not gonna be able to change his mind or anything. And then, my thought was, what's gonna happen to my baby? You know, um, I'm the one that is the reason she's here in the first place, and she's really my baby. And I'm not going to let this creep uh, just kill her or ship her off to someplace. He was already saying he wasn't going to keep any of the animals together. He was going to ship them all separately. He didn't care if they grew up together. What did he care? It didn't matter to them. He was just the worst. And I was freaking out, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to save my baby Roxbury from the evil hands of Satan? And the rest of the keepers were also freaking out about all the animals. I was also worried about the rest of the animals, but in particular about a baby that I had convinced the universe to bring to me, and now, And we were all really worried about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I just got that whatever we do, we better do quick. That's what Pam was saying. Well, you're going to have to move quickly. I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to have to, I don't know what. So he came up that afternoon, like in the middle of the day after our first show, and we had two during the week. And he said, the show's closed. I need all of you to leave the area. Then he quickly found out that all these animals lived in enclosures that didn't have safeties or anything, and if you didn't know them, you couldn't go in and feed them or anything. They would just bite you. So then he had to say, well, two of you can come and feed them. Oh, he's the biggest creep. But anyway, at that point I thought, well, I got to get Roxy and I got to get her now. So I went home. I was really upset, talking to Don, devising the sneaky Pete plan. Here's where we go into 007ville, Mission Impossible. I'm going to save my baby at all cost. Let's put the plan in action. And Don said he would help me, and he was going to drive the getaway car. So my plan went into action like this. The next morning, I got up really early, and I went into the zoo and went in the normal way. And luckily, it was so early, I didn't really pass anybody on the way in. And I just went straight up to Roxy's cage. I'd already talked to her mentally that I was going to take her and to just realize we were going on an adventure. I put her collar and leash on her, put her on my back, and then I knew that if I went up through the zoo, the zoo had a big fence around it from the park, but we were in Griffith Park, so it's a huge park area in Los Angeles. That if I went higher enough up the mountain, I could cross this area of the fence and get over into the park, the wild part of the park, and then walk a bit of a distance, and then I could go straight down to the mountain on the other side of the park, away from the zoo, and end up on the part of the road. And I'd asked Don to be waiting for me on that road at a certain time. So, this was a really treacherous trip. There wasn't any path or anything. Once I got over the fence, it was just wild, overgrown brush and sage and branches and stickers and rattlesnake country. So thick of, I didn't even stop to look for snakes, and just rocks. It was literally like a mountain, pretty straight down, the slightest incline, and really pretty high. And it was about a 2-mile journey with my baby raccoon on my shoulder, and she really wasn't used to any of this going on, which was pretty traumatic because I was falling and scraping and cutting and tripping and tumbling with her just stuck to my shoulder and neck as hard as she could, like just holding on for life, like, I won't let go, Dad, I won't let go. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm hanging on for life. And so uh, we finally, it was pretty, I can't even tell you how difficult a hike it was down the side of that mountain. It's the Hollywood Hills, but it's very mountainous. And climbing down there, slipping and falling. Then when I got to the bottom, sure enough, Don was there waiting for me. And so it was still, sun was just starting to come up. So it was, dawn, and it wasn't bright light, but it was getting to be light. And so I'm just running across this little bit of a clearing to the car. And when we got to the car, Roxy freaked out. Like, she'd never really seen a car. She didn't know what, she'd been back and forth in the car, but we never had this experience of running and being really freaky. I had sweat pouring off of me. I was filthy dirty. And then trying to get her into the car, she like kind of freaked a little bit. So it took me a minute. I had to get her in the back seat and put her in there with her leash. And then Donald, put the pedal to the metal and get us out of here. And then he flew us home. I took her in the house. So basically, I'd stolen the raccoon from the zoo, locked her in my room, in my bedroom, and then I had to go back to work because I was scheduled to work that day. So I did all this before work time. And I had also already told my coworkers that I was going to steal her so it wouldn't be a shock to them, and they were fine with it. They're going, thank God it's just one less to worry about, get her out. But my plan wasn't over. So then I come back to work. I had to wash and everything because I was a mess and bloody and had to put on long pants and stuff. And I go in at my normal time and I go in and sign in. Hello, la la la. As if I hadn't been there. And then I go up and we waited a little bit to everybody get to work. And then we took a collar, a raccoon collar, and we used snap collars. And we broke it so it looked like it had just snapped and broken. And then we had the big story that we went down and told them down front that we were walking the raccoons, because that was our job, was to get them out of those little cages and walk them since he closed the show down. And we were walking them in the forest, and Roxy's thing had broke, and she took off running, and we were trying to catch her. And then she got into the thicket and we couldn't find her, and she just kept going farther and farther. And then we completely lost her and we couldn't find her, and we brought in the broken collar, as evidence. And we said, we'll just continue to call her and look for her because we think she'll come back, but we wanted you to know this happened. And of course, at that point, I don't think they cared because they had all these other animals they were trying to find places for. And so I don't know if they believed the story or not, but they acted like they did. And, all my co-workers were conspirators, and they went along with she broke her leash and got away. And then I finished work and went home. In the meantime, Donald had started building an outside house for Roxy to live in. Because we didn't have anything for her to live in. This all happened so quickly. I had nothing. And even though she could stay in the house sometime, but I also had pets. I had dogs and cats. I had a rabbit, a squirrel, a bird, lots of things. And now a raccoon. And there was no place for her to have her own space. So Donald, love of my life and greatest person ever, who always just did whatever I asked him to, got some chain link and these big redwood posts and put together a big, large 10 by 10 cage on a concrete patio area we had in our backyard. But it took him a couple of days. So when I got home that day, Roxy was in the bedroom, but she was in her best behavior. Like she hadn't gotten into anything. And if you know about a raccoon, their thing is to get into everything, under the floorboards, behind the wallpaper, into the, in and out, inside the hole, outside, explore everything all the time. And she had just laid there and been a good girl the whole time I was at work. And that night she had to sleep with me on my pillow beside me. She didn't move a muscle. She just laid there and went to sleep like a precious little baby and didn't cause any trouble and just acted like normal, ate and drank in the bedroom. I could keep her in there. You know, when I was home, I stayed in there most of the time with her. And then Dawn miraculously had the cage done in a couple of days. And so then she had an outside area that she could stay in, especially when I was at work and stuff. And, you know, Donald was great with everything I brought home, but he wasn't really an animal keeper. And as she got older and older, he wasn't as comfortable as I was about having an adult raccoon at the house. And, you know, they can be scary if you don't know about them. And plus, she could sometimes try to bug him and, you know, tell him, no, Mark is the one. I want Mark to feed me and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we had her home. We stole her from the evil villain. And then she lived with us for another 16 to 17 years with all my pets. We moved several times with my little Roxbury, moving along, moving her house, moving her with us, which was never easy because it's illegal to have a raccoon as a pet. But, you know, I just wasn't going to let her down. I was never going to let anything happen to her as long as I could prevent it in some way. But then, of course, you know, she had to be kind of undercover. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's not necessary. And because I didn't want her confiscated or anything like that. So it was always a challenge for all those years. But not too big because she was precious and sweet and my little pet and never acted aggressive or anything like that. So I'm going to show you another couple of pictures of her. How cute. Now this is how she was right before the great robbery. And that was about her age. She loved to sit on my head. I'd always say, this is the only kind of raccoon cap I approve of. This one. Look how cute she is. And this was her when we first moved into her new house at my house, you know, at our house. And this was the enclosure that Don built for her. She was checking it out from my shoulder, of course. And she had a little waterfall fountain in there. And tire swings and all kinds of toys. But it was right outside, but she would come in and out, you know, in the evening she'd come in with us in the house. Like this time when she was exploring the bathroom, she says, well, I just used the toilet. Where's the toilet paper? She liked the bathroom because there's all this great water, and raccoons love the water and like to put their hands in it. Look how cute she is. She's getting quite a bit bigger there. And, you know, she came in a lot, and a lot of the times she liked to hang out on the couch. And this is her playing hide and seek on the couch. Look, she goes, I'm under the blankets. Peekaboo. So cute. And then she'd also spend a lot of time watching television with me. I look pretty tired in this picture. It must have been right after work. And I even have on a fall shirt there. We were watching something on TV together on the couch. And she'd come in and watch with me after work. And this was more of her favorite position, if you can see it. Look at those eyes. Raccoons have that night vision eye, so they really reflect in the camera. I don't know why my stomach's poked out so big. Lazy days watching TV. And then when she wasn't watching it with me, she was watching it with her best friend, Oso. And that was her dog that she loved. I hope you can see it. Now, Oso was my dog that came to me the day after I did the ritual where I was looking to find my spirit animal. And in the ritual, it came up white wolf. And the next day, this dog was on my porch and moved in with me. And that's Oso. And he always, he was a great dog. He took care of all my little baby animals. He always was like daddy to all of them, no matter what it was. Baby squirrels, baby raccoons, baby birds. He took care of everything. He took that job very seriously. And he and Roxbury were very good buddies. She loved to lay next to Oso, and she would massage him with her little fingers. It was very cute. And so they remained friends throughout their lives. She eventually passed away in her sleep. At that point, she was about 18 or so. So she had a pretty long life. She never ever acted sick or anything. She was always happy. She always came in and out. She liked her outside house, but she liked to come in and visit with us. And, for me, she was really like my little magical familiar, I don't know. It just seemed like that's what a pan channel should have. Was a raccoon as a best friend, along with all the other animals. But she's really special to me and very special place in my heart, And also, I know it was one of those times when the universe and the animal kingdom was listening to me and my personal requests and answering me and answering my heart and giving me a gift. And, God giving me a gift of this little raccoon. And I never felt or thought I'd end up having to steal her to have her. But the universe has done that with me time and time again, and that was one of those early times, and I'm forever grateful. I fully expect to see her when I cross over. They're waiting for me. Plus, I'm not entirely sure, but I feel very strongly that she might be reincarnated in the white dog I have now. No, it sounds crazy, but this dog does an awful lot of things that reminds me of the raccoon. And I keep getting that that's the actual truth, but who knows? I guess I'll find out when I get on the other side for sure. Anyway, I hope you guys like that story, and I hope this thing recorded it right. It looked like it kept trying to freeze or something. So aggravating. It's Ghost. And so hope you like that little story about my precious little raccoon. In addition to Roxy, I've had a lot of raccoon friends. I also had a trio of raccoons that I knew from babies, named Guinevere, Lancelot, and Merlin, and loved them to pieces. Their favorite thing, I used to go and sit with them in their enclosure, and as they grew up, and their favorite thing would be Lancelot laid across my shoulders, Guinevere wanted to be in my arms, and Merlin had to lay right next to my leg, so I would sit on the box, their nest box, so they could go in. Then they'd all come out and just sit on me, and we just sit there for during my lunch in the sun together. And quite a few other raccoons that I've known and loved and taken care of. And so be nice to raccoons, love them, send them energy. They have a hard time like all the other animals in the world at this time. And just ask Pan here to give them a nod and send them a little bit of energy and love their way. I do think of them as the magicians in the forest, little masked bandits, masqueraders, masquerading marauders. That's what's coming. Okay, just send a little bit more energy to them. Making those little noises. I can hear their noises in my head there, and that little playful energy. That little like a little trilling noise. They do this little cute bouncing when they're happy and want to play. They bounce on their feet up and down. That's what my dog Alaska does too. She does the raccoon bounce. All right, thank you, Pan. And thank you guys for joining me here on my channel. I love you guys so much. Hope you have a great fall season. And love raccoons. balloons. How can you not?